Welcome back to the channel. My name's Dan. The Boxster's here. Let's check it out. So I got back last night. It was pouring down rain and I wanted to put the car in the garage because, as you can see, that back window is definitely not watertight. But otherwise the top is pretty good. Told you about that mystery box with the top in it. Let's have a closer look. So it was shipped to Japan in September 2010, and I could tell it was an entire top. What I wasn't sure about is if it has a plastic window or a glass window. And it turns out that's glass. So the project we're going to start today is replacing this top. So before we get started on the project, I'm just going to plug the battery into a charger. I know we're going to be putting the top up and down several times, maybe many times during the job. I just want to make sure the battery is not going to run out. So here's my vintage Japanese battery charger. It's pretty old, but it still works great. Let's plug it in and turn it on. So we remove these two plastic guards that sit on the arm here. Then there are 6 nuts, 3 on either side, 10mm. I recommend bagging everything, labeling them. Now we can get this cover off and put it someplace safe. So I marked with a pencil just around the edge here so we know exactly where it goes. When we put it back together, we won't have any alignment issues. Okay, we got the top in a good place to access this weather seal that sits in the groove here. Okay, we're going to take off this front trim piece. Looks like there's 8 bolts. They're T25 Torx. Let's take that off. Now we can remove the weather stripping. Note how it sits in the groove. Put this someplace safe. Okay, there are 4 T15 screws on this trim piece here, all the same size on my car. Quite a bit of original factory adhesive, so I had to use a trim tool to get that piece down. And note how the rubber fits along the groove here. I'm going to mark the orientation and label this with the bolts. So we got this giant piece of weather stripping off. It's interesting, it's sort of, that trim piece is sandwiched in between the 2 layers here. Note how it fits into the front corner. There's a little metal tab and the groove for that to go into. Alright, making some progress here. In my car, after you get that outer trim piece, there's another trim piece. I had 4 Phillips head screws, all the same size on mine. Then you can start unpeeling the old roof material. There's an aluminum plate that's attached to the top. I used a putty knife just to get underneath that and make sure I wasn't going to bend it when I removed it, but that came off easily. Remove the fabric cover from it. Looks like it's double stick taped on. Flip it over, you can see there's a shrink tube around this spring, so cut that off and then we can disconnect the cable. Okay, so a couple hours into the project, I did have a lunch break. Back at it, we do need to disconnect the other end of this cable. It's down here, another T25 screw, and then there's a lock washer. This is when you don't want to drop anything down there, so we did put the tape over the drain hole. Then there's a rubber seal to remove. Then you can unpeel the roof fabric from the back, and then there's another rubber seal after that, but pretty straightforward. These little pick tools are very useful for just getting underneath and getting them started. Usually once you get it started, then it pulls right out. Okay, so it's been a bit of a battle, but we got the top off. Let's take a look at the glass window top that this car came with. I did notice that my particular top, the Sierra top, some of the strapping and how it mounts is different than the original top that came off. Certainly it has to be modified slightly. There's some holes that need to be made and we'll have to make some cuts. But it went pretty well removing the old top, and hopefully putting on the new top goes smoothly as well. Okay, so the end of the cable needs to be attached. I used a drill bit to poke a hole in the neoprene and canvas fabric, which allowed me to get the T25 screw and the lock washer through. I'm also going to put a little piece of tape around the end of the screw just so it doesn't bang up against the car body. Okay, so I got that attachment point slid into the groove on the top, and the bottom one, put the top forward, and should be able to get it started in the bottom channel, and then we can put on that T25 screw and the star washer with the top back a little bit. So the cable is in the right place and that screw is in. So I'm feeling pretty good about the project so far. Now we're at the back of the car on my second set of headlamps and my second band-aid. What we want to do now is to start inserting their new top into the groove. There is a middle point scribed onto this metal bar, probably from the factory, and there's a V-notch on the replacement fabric, so we know exactly where that goes. Okay, the trick I found getting the flap into the top groove along with the locking strip is do them at the same time. Yeah, it's working. Takes a lot of pressure and it's a slow process, but certainly this is the way to do it. It's to install the flap and the locking rubber strip at the same time. Left side and right side, work your way around. Doing it this way, bent over the back of the car. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but we're getting it done. We got that locking trim piece in all the way around the back. It's a tough job. I mean, it's not difficult, it just takes a long time and a lot of force to wedge that in with the top strip and the little rubber into that groove. I use one of these trim tools that helped a bit, but just going slowly, kind of inch by inch, working your way around. Now I feel like I've reached maybe the halfway point, maybe even past the halfway point, because the top is really on. Okay, we've got that second rubber seal going in on the back. Same thing, mark the middle, find a center point, and work your way around. I've used this 3M double stick tape. 03614 is the model of the tape. That's what was recommended to me on another YouTube video. It's slightly thicker than the tape that was on the OEM top, but I think it's good stuff and hopefully it does the job. So let's peel off the backing and then we'll stick the cover on. Okay, with the top material stuck down to the double stick tape, now we have the last weather stripping that we can install into the groove around the back of the car. Mark the middle, match that up with the middle of the metal in the back, push it in. Okay, so here's the original fabric top that I removed, laid on top of the new replacement roof. And as you can see, I used these binder clips to line up. There's not a lot of reference points. I used the holes that the new top material does have installed. Along the front, they don't have the holes made, so I marked all of the holes along the front, and I also marked where the corner has been notched and cut as well as this spot where it was also sort of notched and cut, and along here. I use this white grease pen, this fashion pen for dress marking, JDM original, with the little brushes for. That marked really well on the fabric. Alright, finally we got the driver's side, left side of the car, side panel, that aluminum piece, glued, taped, and screwed with 4 screws along the bottom. It was a bit of a battle, but success in the end. I'm going to take on the right side of the car next, and I'll show you where I put the tape and how I managed to get it all fit into place. Okay, here's the right side of the car. There's that aluminum piece that the fabric has to be glued to and then screwed in from the bottom. I'm using double-sided Gorilla Tape on the aluminum piece and a few strips of the 3M double stick tape along the bottom here just because it's slightly narrower, and a little bit of double stick tape here. The Gorilla Tape is a little bit thicker than the factory tape, which you can see the remnants of here. A lot of people are using the spray adhesive, but like I said, I think it just makes so much of a mess that hopefully the Gorilla Tape will do the job and the fabric will stick to it, and then I can tuck it under and then attach the 4 Phillips screws from the bottom. So I've got my screws on the front windscreen here so I can reach them. Okay, here's the right side installed. I think that was the right combination of adhesives and got it locked into place. A little pick tool from the bottom just to line up the holes, and just having things at hand and making sure that that cable is in the groove. Don't forget to wrap some tape around the other end of the cable. And now with both sides done, we can move on to the front. Alright, following along with Jason's Porsche channel, shout out, here is that Sierra Design supplied cardboard piece that's going to fit on the underside of the roof. And I think I am going to finally use some spray adhesive, so I'm going to go outside and spray the underside of that, and that'll fit into that groove along the front. Okay, we're sitting in the car now and looking up. There's that cardboard material strip installed up there. I'm using the Gorilla double-sided tape, and from here I think I can pull. I made a little holes where the screws are going to go in, so I think I can pull that back, that fabric back, and glue it into place. Okay, there's the fabric top stretched around the front corner, held in place with some alligator clips. That double stick Gorilla Tape seems to be doing the job. So now I can get that big weather stripping that goes around both sides and the front. There's a little metal hooks that attach under there. And we should be nearing the end of this project. Okay, there's the big weather stripping installed. It's sandwiched between the aluminum trim piece that runs along the front here and the replacement canvas. And now we just have the 2 last black trim pieces on the sides, and then we are finished. We can close it up and let it sit for a week or so. So it's great, after even 25 or more years, the weather stripping is still very soft and pliant, and that adhesive is still sticky. So using the trim tool, I can just work my way along and push the adhesive back into the track along here, and it'll go in nicely. So let's do it to the other side. It's tight as a drum. It was very hard to shut, but I'm told that's normal. The fabric needs to stretch, and hopefully that's all that needs to be done. A few small details. The cable is sticking out a little bit here, and I think the cover needs some small adjustments. The lid But final thoughts on the job was a battle. There were no easy steps. Lots of fiddly little jobs and sore fingers and cursing and sweating. But there it is. The soft top replacement on my 986 Boxster is finished. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this to be a helpful video. If you do, please like and subscribe and watch my other videos. Thanks a lot, and I'll catch you next time.